Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction. And you guessed it, I've got an armor test for you today. I apologize in advance about any of the bird noise that you hear in the background. There are literally hundreds of blackbirds that literally just came out of nowhere and they're annoying the crap out of me, so hopefully they don't annoy you. So anyways, it's getting towards the end of the season. It's about 50 degrees outside today, and I'm trying to get in all this armor testing before it gets too cold. So I have a new offering from MILITECH to check out today. This is their RF2 plate, or level 3 plus in current terminology. So RF1 and 2, I'll put a screenshot here of the different qualifications, but essentially RF2 is 308 protection, M193 and M855 protection. This is multi-curved. It is a 10 by 12 plate. I feel that we have some strike face foam protected on it. This thing weighs 5 pounds, 4 ounces. We'll find out when we shoot it, but it feels like the strike face actually extends all the way to the edge of the plate. I don't feel that foam ring there, but it's hard to say. So when we shoot it, we'll find out how much strike face is there. For all of my armor testings, we try to adhere to the NIJ standard as best as possible for my backyard testing. So we run a chronograph, we have a clay backer, which again is cold outside today, so it's just going to give us a representation of back face. It's not going to give us a true number, but if we see anything huge above 44 millimeters, that would probably mean in real life that would be a no-go. We test at 45 feet, which again is the testing distance for the NIJ for rifle threats. We also perform a drop test 2 times on its face, since this is a ceramic strike face. I'll do a picture-in-picture or something that you guys can see me dropping it on its face. Please allow me a few moments to reposition all of our cameras for today's test. Before I do, drop a comment below on what your favorite type of squat is if you are the exercising kind, whether it's a back squat, a front squat, or an overhead squat. Drop me a comment and let me know. We'll start with our 5.56 threats first. We have M193, which is a 55 grain full metal jacket. We have M855, which is a 62 grain projectile, has a little steel tip in the end of it. Then we have M855A1, which is the Army's new EPR round. It's a 62 grain bullet as well. It has a copper core and an exposed steel tip. We'll be using our TC compass with the 22-inch barrel. As with all of my newer armor testings, I put a spreadsheet at the beginning of the different rounds that we're going to test, whether they're an NIJ threat or not, and then we put all the data that we got from this and then put it at the end as a summary, so you guys get to see what I'm going to shoot or attempt to shoot at this plate beforehand. You guys can always take those guesses as you're watching. We'll use our TC compass. It has a 22-inch barrel, Yankee Hill Turbo 5.56 on there. Now, when we tested the RMA 1092 plate, it could not stop M855A1 out of the 16-inch barrel. So I'm jumping right to the 22-inch barrel, only because MILITECH said that this has a pretty thick ceramic strike face. So if the A1 does penetrate, we'll step down to the 16-inch for the shot after. I apologize for all of the talking, but sometimes some of that data needs to be there. We'll shoot the left upper of the plate first. Really good velocity out of the M193. Now our A1, this is a Winchester loading. I think 2018 lot. See what we get pressure-wise, velocity. Not bad, about 100 feet per second faster than standard M855 ball. We'll walk down that way and see what we did.
I tried to label the shots on here. It's kind of hard with the whiteout pen because unless you're pressing directly down, it doesn't write very well. But here was our M193, the M855, and then the A1. You probably saw with the A1 some sparks flying in that third camera. That's pretty neat. Now, MILITECH said the landed price of these plates is going to be like under $300 a pair or something. It's very, very cheap. Pretty interesting considering it is Multicurve. That is a very value price plate. Sorry about the strap. Let me just get them out of the way. As I mentioned, the clay's cold, so we're not going to see a good representation of backface, but I just like this giant thing here to act as a compressible media. Oh! No pass-through, folks. You can see there is some backface going on there from our 5.56 threads. Our next threat will use M80 ball, which will give us more backface, but very impressive. This 5-pound plate, 22-inch barrel, M855A1, stopped dead in its tracks. There is a little bit of backface there, but dead in its tracks.
Now we'll step up to our 308 threat. This is some Poonsang or PMC M80 ball. Has a bimetal jacket. Probably one of the more warmer M80 balls that I've tested. We should be seeing over 2,700 feet per second. We have a 22-inch TC compass. We've got our Yankee Hill Phantom M2 on there. That way it's a little quieter for the kids, and then maybe YouTube won't pick up on the gunshots and demonetize me, although I think anymore it's what you say is what they go off of. We'll take the 2 shots on the plate. I think with the import plates you tend to give up a little more backface to save on some weight. This is a pretty thin plate, so I mean, if anything, they could go more on the polyethylene for the backer. Ew, pretty slow velocity, but it is colder. We'll go see what we did, guys and gals.
Here was shot number 1. Here was shot number 2. We're 2 inches from that A1 shot, but that's still a fair hit. This guy was way far away from there. I think maybe when we're done with these different shots, we could try seeing how many shots this thing will take. Maybe the M855, since that would give it the most trouble. Ho! Still no pass-through on that sucker. We're starting to see more backface. There is our second 308 shot. Like I said, it's really close to the A1, so we're getting a little more backface. You can see the backface there. And like I said, the clay's firm, so it's not going to represent correctly. You can see the label imprinting itself on there, but impressive. I have a threat that I think you all will appreciate. Give me a second and we'll get this going.
Oh, time for some AK love. Got a special round here. This is the 7.62x39 BZ round, or armor piercing. These were donated to me. I only have 2 of them, so hopefully I can hit the target. We have a 16-inch Palmetto State Armory GF3. Got a primary arms 1 to 6 up top. I did verify I should be able to hit where I want on this guy. I guess that's why I have 2 of them. Now, this is a hardened steel core projectile. Most of the 7.62x39 that we have access to has a bimetal jacket, so the jacket is magnetic and attracts a magnet, and it has a lead core. There was some ammunition that was imported before, you know, the assault weapons ban area, the Chinese stuff, and some of the Russians had mild steel core, and that's like B scale hardness Rockwell wise. This is going to be a lot harder. The only issue with 7.62x39 is we don't see that velocity. This is definitely outside of the purview of the NIJ here. Make sure I get a good spot on this plate where I want it. And hopefully I didn't shoot the same part of the plate.
All right, folks, place your bets. Our shot was right here. We are definitely far enough away from all of these other shots. I wonder if there's any cool flashy flash on the camera. We'll have to look at that later. You guys will be the first to see it, not me. Uh-oh, Raggy. Penetration. Wow. It didn't go straight out. It kind of went on an angle. There is our hole right there. Maybe this is kind of like the equivalent to M2AP. Not sure. I haven't seen a whole lot of testing on this round. I'm not sure if this is a tile array or not, but we're far enough away from these other shots that I would consider that a fair hit. Again, this plate is not designed for obscure threats, but since I am the king of armor, I like to try to break stuff. So knowing that, let's try the 12-inch M80A1 and see what we get.
Now back to an EPR round. This is our M80A1. This is a 130 grain projectile with a steel penetrating tip, copper core. Pretty much identical to M855A1, but scaled up for 308. This tip is a lot softer. I guess I shouldn't say a lot softer. It's 49 to 52 on the C scale for Rockwell, whereas the M855A1 was in the 59 to 60. Last time the RMA 1092 plate had trouble with our 12.5-inch SBR, so we'll start there. If it stops this, we have a couple good spots, I think, left on the plate, maybe for the 16-inch. Smoke and velocity, looks like I hit a little off to the left where I wanted. We're at the bottom of the plate, but it should be a fair hit.
Here is our M80A1 shot from the SBR. I think we have maybe 2 good spots left in this plate, depending on our results from this. Like I said, this does have a thicker ceramic strike face. It stopped our M855A1 from the 22-inch. Uh-oh, Raggy. Penetration. Very, very interesting. The M80A1 is no joke. Pretty much, I think you need a ceramic strike face of about 300 thousandths or thicker to successfully stop that, and you won't get that unless you go to, say, the LA Police Gear level 3 or a level 4 panel. There's our hole right there. I see no need to test a longer barrel length on that.
We have to take care of our 300 blackout friends. I have some M2AP loaded in 300 black. This is a 165 grain steel core projectile. This is the standard for level 4 at 2880 feet per second. I'm not sure what we're going to get velocity wise, so we'll probably throw a picture-in-picture or just a text overlay of what the equivalent engagement of this would be down range if you were to fire this from, say, 300 Win Mag or a 30-06. We have a 10.5-inch upper from Palmetto State Armory. I think it's 1 8 twist. Have our Phantom M2 on here. We're going to go for the lower left of the plate where I think we have a good spot left. $17.36, not bad.
Here was our shot from the M2AP in 300 black. Place your bets now. Wonder if it will perform any better than the BZ from 762x39. Has a lot more weight behind it. And we are indeed correct. Hard to see, but there is a straight line penetration through that plate. We are in the ceramic. I can feel there's ceramic down there. This plate is starting to fail the torque test.
I think we'll end our testing on the MILITECH RF2 with a barrage of fire. I think we're going to use our M855 10 rounds. We'll try to call these out and mark them on the plate like we did with the 1092 test. The ceramic is pretty compromised at this point, so if there's no ceramic there, we may get some pass-throughs. This is the IMI M855. They load pretty warm 5.56 velocity stuff, even though they've dialed it back a little over the years. Back to our 22-inch TC Compass. Got the suppressor on there, keep the neighbors happy. I think we're just going to go right down the plate. That was the middle, top, middle again, below the last one. On the right-hand side, left-hand side now. Towards the bottom right. Got an air on that one. It is getting dark, folks. Middle bottom. That one was supposed to be towards the top. I'm not sure where I was at with that one. And then we'll go with the right towards the top. I think it's too dark for the chronograph. We got one more, I think. Oops, I shot through my clay on that one. Let's go try to make sense of what I did.
These shots didn't end up the way I wanted them to. This was one of the last few shots. That one is definitely not a fair hit. I am at the edge and it shot upwards into there. But this was, I know, was the first shot. Here was a shot here. There was one over here. I think this was the second. I don't know if this was the third, or maybe this was the third. Here was one down here. So very bad on my part for not properly spacing these shots. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. Hopefully we can go back through the other footage and see the order of them. But no pass-throughs. We did shoot this plate 10 more times after all of our other threats. This 9th or 10th one up here we won't count because of how close it was to the edge. NIJ allows 2-inch minimum from the edge for a fair hit, and that one is definitely not fair. But it stopped all of those additional 9 rounds. Impressive. Very impressive.
All right, folks, we were running out of Mr. Daylight, so I figured we'd bring this back home and set up the indoor light so we could talk about the results from our MILITECH RF2 plate. And this gave me a chance to go over the footage from the last 10 shots of M855 so I could properly mark them where they actually hit. So we'll put this on the table, and I used a screen capture software to mark them. So our first hit was indeed right here. Our second hit was right here, slightly off, actually center. Our third hit was over here. Our fourth hit was all the way over here. The fifth hit was down here in the corner. Our sixth hit was here. Our seventh was here. Our eighth was right here. Our ninth was the one that went all the way over the top. And our 10th was somewhere over here by the 8th shot. So overall, our MILITECH RF2 plate took over a dozen hits of a lot of common and somewhat uncommon threats, and there were very minimal pass-throughs. Only our true AP loads, like our 762x39BZ and our M2 AP and 300 Blackout, and of course our M80A1, which is not considered AP, but it just has magical properties and good velocity even out of a 12.5 inch to make bad things happen to body armor. I think you guys will be really impressed with what this plate looks like underneath. We actually have our ceramic strike face extending almost to the near edge of the entire plate. The imported plates are known for being lighter than average because what they typically do is they put a foam ring that's about a ½ inch or more around the entire outside of the plate to keep the weight down, knowing that the NIJ calls for a minimum of a 2-inch edge shot for a fair hit. So if you're only shooting 2 inches from the edge of this plate, being a 10x12, if they cut off a 1/2 inch there, they can potentially save some weight, knowing the NIJ is never going to test there. So that is a good thing to see here with this MILITECH plate, that this strike face goes basically all the way to the edge. The more interesting thing that I haven't seen them employ yet are these little tiny tiles. Normally our tile array plates are a square or rectangle or triangle, depending on where they fit in the pattern. These neat little 6-sided shapes, aka hexagons, I had to Google that because apparently my elementary skills have left the brain, really help reduce crack propagation when facing multiple threats. Like I said, we've got over a dozen hits on this plate, and a majority of the tiles where we didn't hit, like we had a whole good row right here, and more shots that we could have taken here. Pretty amazing. This seems to be a very well-rounded plate, especially since it is multi-curve and only around 5 pounds. A very solid RF2 plate. As we come to a close on this test, again, I'd like to say I think this is a really solid RF2 plate from MILITECH. Typically what we've seen with some of the import plates is that we are allowing more back face on some of our test results, especially like the M80 ball and the higher energy rounds. We're stopping some of the more AP threats because the ceramic is thicker, but at least with this plate, we seem to have a good quality polyethylene backer that even, again, with the M80 ball, when we shot against this plate, we're not seeing that large back face on that, which means that there's going to be less blunt force trauma to you as a user. As I close, I always like to take a moment to thank all of those that help make these videos possible. Number 1 are my Patreon supporters. Number 2, in this case, is MILITECH, who in full transparency sent this RF2 plate for me to destroy with no strings attached. And of course, you all for watching. Number 1 lesson, don't skip leg day, do your back squats, and until next time, I'll catch you at the range. Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction. That is a lot of birds. Oh, I'm going to guess that's going to sound like crap on the camera. Go away, birds!